Well, there you all are. Thank you very much for coming in to our Sunday edition of Six Screens. We've got some good programming coming up today. We have ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their testimony of being in the Watchtower. So that's coming up next, along with Anne Marie. She's a former Jehovah's Witness out of California. So looking forward to the program, and we got Anne Marie on the line. So come on, Anne Marie.
Well, happy Sixth Screen Sunday to you, my brother. Sorry about all the snow you're looking forward to.
Oh yeah, no, we're getting a lot of snow. In fact, this whole week is going to be, not much is going to go on, but in a way, it's kind of good. Everything slows down a little bit, but there's so much snow to remove. That's the problem. It's work. I know you don't get that kind of snow out there in California, but boy, I'll tell you, it's work. It'll be work for 2 or 3 days, just getting snow cleared out of the driveway. Just like crazy. But anyways, you're doing all right, huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you it's a beautiful, sunny, warm day over here.
Well, no,
I'm
it sounds
sorry.
sounds good. No, it's all right. It's all right. In fact, I'll tell you what. In some respects, I mean, this winter was really a bad winter. But it's kind of nice having really good seasons. You've been up here in the fall, and you know how beautiful it is. And you're up here in the
Oh,
summer,
yeah.
and up in the summer, it's beautiful. It's not really super hot like the south, but at the same time, we do have distinct seasons. When spring comes, we'll know it. All of a sudden, the birds will start singing, and the snow disappears, and beautiful flowers appear. So it's nice having the seasons, but winter is the problem. That's the bad season. That's the bad one. Yeah.
Oh, stop. You're making me remember the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers and how they had to wait through that horrible winter.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, they film a lot of. I mean, I don't know if you watch the Hallmark Channel or not, but they film a lot of, a lot of snow scenes. I don't know these romantic stories they have on TV. They always like to have a snow scene, and it's like Currier and
Yeah.
Ives up here. It's cozy and it's nice, and people like to wrap up in their crocheted blanket, sit by the fireplace, and just chill out a little bit. But after you do that so long, you start getting cabin fever. You want to get out and move around. But anyways, we don't have any. I'm going to make a call. We got a number of people coming in on a telephone line. So if anyone's listening into the program, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, or whether you're on our telephone radio network, and you'd like to tell your story of being in the Watchtower, well, here's a good time to do it. You'll be able to come on and tell the story and be able to get it off your chest. Let people know how you were treated in the Watchtower. Go to bed. We'll listen to both sides of the story. So hit *6 if you'd like to come
Hey, Rick.
on. Yes. Who's this?
Hey, it's RJ.
RJ. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Would you like to?
I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to listen to the the whole of JW News yesterday.
Yeah.
But did you talk about the HBO special?
I did. I didn't talk about that. No, I didn't. Why don't you get something to say about it?
It's called Surviving Jehovah's Witnesses,
Yeah, I know. I've heard of it.
and
haven't had a chance to watch it. Yep.
and the deal is it's in Spanish. It has English subtitles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 3-part miniseries, and each one is about 40 minutes.
So how was it?
It was very interesting. Like, it wasn't really anything we haven't talked about, but it's on a major streaming platform, so that's the main thing.
Oh yeah, well that's any exposure that can take place about the Watchtower is a good thing. Now, RJ, you never got to tell us your story, did you?
I've shared bits and pieces here and there.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more here in this program today?
Yeah, I could tell about. I always like to talk about how I left, and then I like to talk about my baptism.
Well, listen, why don't we have Anne Marie step in right now? Anne Marie, say hello to my friend RJ.
Hey, RJ. Happy Sixth Screen Sunday. Glad you called in. And, this show is set aside by Rick just for anybody who wants to share anything about their experience being in the Watchtower. So it gives people time to just talk. So however much you want to talk or share, we are listening.
Okay, so if I could talk about my baptism, I wanted to get baptized probably about two and a half years prior to that. I started going around 2002, and I had family in and everything. And I didn't get baptized until like late 2006. But I had already been giving talks, and I had already been, doing field service and everything. And then my experience with being a witness, I was very snake bitten. Like everything, the ball always bounced the other way. Like nothing would go right. And then, people would just say, like, well, once you get baptized, things will be different. Once, you can't really complain until you're baptized. And they kept telling me that. So, I'm trying to go with it. I'm trying to do the best I can. And then I got baptized later than I should have. I think I was ready, 2 years before that. And I would have preferred to have been baptized at a stadium and not an assembly hall. But anyway, I got baptized, or the weekend I got baptized. The brother, because I had to study with two brothers from the hall. Like even though I knew I was indoctrinated, so I knew everything front and back. But they still make you answer questions and study with two elders from your congregation to get baptized. And then one of the brothers that I studied with, he was in a car accident on his way to that assembly. So, I just heard like he was in the accident, and I got baptized, and then, I socialized and did all that. And then at the end of the assembly, like the Sunday afternoon, late Sunday afternoon, I found out that brother died from the car accident. So like it seemed like, I viewed it as being cursed, being a witness, and then I'm baptized and I can't even get one good day in here because I couldn't celebrate being baptized. That's, even though it's the wrong thing to do, it's something that people congratulate you, and it's your special moment. It's like a graduation. It's like it's an achievement, a personal achievement, especially when you're younger. And then I couldn't enjoy it at all.
That must have been so hard for you. Everybody celebrates their baptism, as far as I remember. Get taken out to lunch and maybe get a gift. Everybody's congratulating you, but that must have been hard for you.
Yeah. And then and I was only like a witness for about a year and a half after that, but I had my fill. If I was smarter and more, if I was the person I am now, I would have not been a witness, and I would have, the first resistance, I would have stopped going, But they get their hooks in you.
They do.
And you start believing your own hype.
So what happened that you decided you didn't want to be any part of it after only a year or two?
Well, there was a few things, but I always had like a idealized version of what being a witness was, because my grandparents, they loved being a witness. They benefited from being a witness, and other people have too. But that was not my experience. It was always a detriment to me. It was tougher. Like I was like really good looking. I looked like a teen idol, and I was having trouble finding just a date. I didn't have any regular girlfriend being a witness.
That sounds weird. You're a brother. You've been in the organization a while. You're in good standing. You're good looking. What do you think the problem was?
You know, witnesses, they can kind of be weird and they can kind of do their own thing. But also, there's so few of them. You know, if you got, 7 young people from your hall that's in, 5 you're not interested in, then that narrows it down even further,
Aww.
So, yeah.
Did you get out young enough to be able to rebuild your life outside of the organization?
Yeah, I think I did. And what you got to realize is once you're leaving, you don't hit the ground running. There's a adjustment curve. You kind of got to, some things aren't going to go your way the first year you're out too,
Were you at home or were you living on your own?
I had family around.
But were you physically living under somebody else's roof where you're being watched, like so many of us?
Not really. I kind of had that benefit. I wasn't kicked to the curb like some are.
So you had your own place?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good thing right there, RJ. That is a good thing right there. So, you told us that you waited 2 years to get baptized, and why did you get
No,
baptized?
I wanted to get baptized. I had been in good standing for about 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And then I think my uncle, he kind of sabotaged me where he's like, "Oh, you're not ready," and that, and then I kept postponing it, and it was 2 years after when I wanted to get baptized. Even though, like we wouldn't get baptized knowing what we know now. There's a right and a wrong way to do things, and being at a convention when it's the whole state and it's in a stadium and it's at a significant arena, that's the way to do it.
Okay.
I didn't think that the assembly hall years later, and then especially the circumstances involving it, was the way to go about it. But that's the way it went down. And that's also another thing about being a witness is you don't have the control over your circumstances like you think you will.
That is so true. They tell you you're free. Huh. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that aren't in your hands, and you're not in control of your own destiny.
Right. So can you give
it gets
us some
out of
examples?
your hands.
Can you give us some examples? I mean, you get baptized and then you left, but I just see a black hole in understanding what you went through, how you felt.
Ooh.
What's that?
Okay. After that, I moved out of state. My uncle had a insurance company.
Uh-huh.
And then I tried working with him for a little bit. And then I thought that, I always have the safety blanket of being a witness. And I thought that, like when you're a witness, that carries over with you wherever you go. And then my experience being a witness in Florida was not what I wanted it to be. And then I kind of moved back sooner than I wanted to. And then I remember wow. I remember trying to make friends being a witness, and you're always looking for a girlfriend or a mate being a witness because, your dating pool is pretty limited. Every time I tried to do that, it backfired in my face. even friendships, you know, like people my own age, like it seems like, well, once you're getting to the point where you're trying to buy friendship, well, what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
Take somebody out to eat, and then you're like, oh, don't worry, I got it. And then, you know, you don't hear from them again and everything.
Wow.
And then, yeah. And then, how did I leave? That would be, well, it seemed like my congregation, they weren't like, there wasn't a lot of young people, so they would hand out privileges as far as you can work your way up to being a ministerial servant, or, you know, or you start out as holding the mics or whatever they do. But it seemed like my basic needs were not being met.
Like how? Can you give us an example? I'm trying to picture your young life in this organization, trying to do whatever you're supposed to do to be a good Jehovah's Witness, and getting a lot of disappointment in how you were treated. That's basically all I'm getting.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess mentally you kind of block it out. It doesn't matter at the time, but you miss out on going to prom, you miss out on dating, you miss out on going to football games, the Friday night lights.
Aww.
You miss out on playing sports. They discouraged a university at the time. Maybe they don't now. So you're really you kind of have a surface level relationship with worldly people, and missed out on. And they don't treat young people good at all. They just kind of want them to skip from age 14 to age 20, you know. And
Yeah,
even
that is
20-year-olds
true.
don't act like adults.
Yeah.
But, you know, being adolescent, they view that as an inconvenience. Hurry up and be an adult. Whereas, you know, any psychologist or anybody with a brain would say, you have the rest of your life to be an adult, and you'll be there before you know it. So enjoy the time you have being an adolescent.
Right.
And then, you know, there were a few witnesses that treated me bad.
Oh.
I don't know, like, well, I guess I don't really want to get into all the drama of it, but yeah, it kept going sideways, and I thought I was the problem. And I realized that that's not the way to deal with people, and that's not the way I should have been dealt with.
No.
But as far as leaving, I was open-minded. Like I saw, like you know, I was just driving by a church, and then, you know, they had like the people walking in there, and then I'm like, do you think that all these people are cursed and that they're damned and that they won't survive Armageddon? And then I internally said, no, I don't. You know, like I don't believe that.
Right. It doesn't make sense, really.
And then I went with a coworker to another church, and then we joked around about it, but he's like, well, you're not going to burst into flames when you walk through the door.
That's a good one.
So I went there, and then I saw a lot of the similarities between, you know, the Kingdom Hall and like a traditional non-denominational church. And then I'm like, well, hey, I didn't burst into flames. They don't seem all that bad. Maybe I need to open up my mind a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And then I noticed when I gave myself a break from being a witness, because it wasn't so much that I was disavowing all that they taught right away. I wanted, like Rick Farron's, I wanted researching everything. I wanted, you know, looking up Besserine, or I wanted looking up, you know, Johannes Gruber.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen right away. And then I broke myself out of the routine, you know, because back then you had 3 meetings a week and field service. That's a 4-day commitment.
Right. They want to keep you busy.
So you break that routine. Maybe you go to another church on Sunday, but you see how you do without it. And I got to be honest, when I left, I didn't miss it.
Well, there's a sign.
And then I didn't think about how I'd been scammed or how much time that was lost or energy that was lost from my time in there. I didn't get that right away, but I just noticed I didn't miss it, and I wasn't going to go back.
Well, good for you. I'm just glad you were young enough to be able to still have time to have a life.
You want to have tread on those tires, I'll tell you. And another part of that is because, you know, witnesses, they do outreach and all that. They were into the ministry back then, and they definitely don't want to see members leave. And then I noticed, like, the lack of calls I got and the lack of concern about me leaving, that kind of reassured me that I made the right choice, too.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, that a lot of people have said when they left or just stopped going to meetings, nobody seemed to notice or care. It's like you never existed.
Well, the train goes on without you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. But
yeah,
because when I started taking it seriously, like I was willing to leave the world behind to do the witness thing. And then by the time I left, it seemed like the witnesses were willing to leave me behind.
That's what it sounds like. Absolutely. I'm so sorry, RJ.
But that's my story, and the good and bad and ugly. That's the gist of it. So
how are you doing now?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, when I left, I knew that all the witness friends I had, they were toast. They were done. They're not gonna, have anything to do with me. But my family that are witnesses, some of them call me and some don't. And I think, one side of my family, they're kind of like that. They're just, you're just not going to get blood from a stone. Like, they're just not there, Even if I was the witness, I don't know if they would be there. So it's kind of weird to explain it that way, but I got one uncle where if you don't hand him money or give him free stuff, he doesn't want to talk to you. And then I got one uncle he just keeps everything close to the vest, and I think if he was dying, he wouldn't give me a call last week, That's just how he is. We're just not close, And I didn't do anything. We didn't have a falling out. There wasn't some incident at a barbecue. Nothing like that. He just, he just won't. We're just not close. And I accept that.
Well, do you have real friends, at least one in your life right now?
Oh, yeah. I have a longtime girlfriend, and I have a job that I enjoy, and I have, I have other family I talk to and other friends.
As long as it's real. I mean, don't we all want to know, where do we belong? You want to feel accepted. You want to know who your real friends are, who really does care to have you in their life. And in the witness world, it's all fake. No matter how many smiles and nice words you hear, you really never know who really means it. Today, they're your friend. Tomorrow, they walk by you like you're invisible.
They do keep appearances well. Like some witnesses, you think they really have it together. I mean, maybe if you talked to them one-on-one or you knew all their details, then it wouldn't be a pretty picture. But some of them
Yeah.
look like they have it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it just
And
seems to
also,
be.
and also, you know, like it seems like, you know, all this information's out there. We can watch the videos. We can find all the info. You think, well, somebody's got to be dumb to be a witness, you know? They got to be brain dead. But there's a lot of, they don't have critical thinking skills, but there's a lot of smart, successful witnesses too.
Yes, that is true. But they still
And then if you
have
get
that.
into areas like Colorado, the nicer parts of Colorado and California, they have money and they got, you know, they got a lot of stuff going for them, but they're witnesses too.
Mm-hmm.
Or the, you know, the Boston area too. I'm sure it's the same, but they get in the hamster wheel and they can't see anything else but that.
Wow.
So I would say if you're having your doubts, like, just take a break, you know? You know,
That's good advice.
go a week or month, you know, however long it takes, see if you miss it. And when I was around the same time, like I was reading articles about how bad, you know, Coca-Cola and Mountain Dew was for you. And I took a break. I'm like, well, if I can't drink that, you know, I'll go without it and see how I like it. See if there's some addiction there that I can't beat. But see if I don't miss it. Since I know that it's bad, since I know that it's harmful, you know, go without it. See how you do.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. Do you still live in the same area where you attended the hall?
Not too far from there, yeah. You know, we're talking 20, 30 minutes away.
Wow. That feel weird?
I don't think I really run into any witnesses I knew.
Wow.
It just feels like a dream now.
Wow, thank God you woke up.
Because many years have passed. And I think one of the problems about being a witness was because I had family members who were in it. It just seemed like a normal activity. It just seemed like, you know, one of the things my grandparents did was they did garage sailing on Sunday morning, or no, it would have been Saturday mornings. You know, like, and they treated it like it was just like a normal activity. And then you really get into the doctrine and all that. And so they teach a lot of weird, harmful stuff.
True it is.
And there's a lot of other wholesome activities you could be doing. Not even other religions that you could be doing with your time.
True. So do you go to church?
I think it's, I don't really go to church right now, but, you know, I read the Bible independently. But I think it's the sense of community that keeps people in there.
That's a big part of it. Everybody wants to feel that they belong and they're accepted in a group.
Yeah. And they love to gossip and they love, yeah, there kind of is a diversity of young and old, like a lot of, you know, when you're old and then you kind of just keep yourself, and unless you got a book group or something you go to during the weekend or during the week, you don't really have too much, but witnesses give them that, you know?
Well, it's designed that way. The Watchtower designs it from the get-go, like, say, from a person's first day of study, they want to start separating you from your family and your friends by saying, you know, you should share with your family and friends what you're learning about Jehovah. And if they try to tell you no, or they're not interested, or that you're studying with a cult, or say anything negative, that's not a good sign, because if they have the right heart condition, they'll want to learn what you're learning. And right away, they start to divide you away, because they want your entire life, all your relationships, everything to revolve around Watchtower, even if possible, who you rent from or buy from, or who you have a job with. They want you to be completely involved in Watchtower, because that way it makes you feel even more special. But the main thing is the control, because if you should ever say, hey, this isn't right, I don't feel right, I'm not happy, I just want to leave, they want to make sure that your entire support system is ripped out from under you. They don't want you to have anything on the outside to support you. They want you to cry and long for that association of brothers.
Yeah, there was one brother. Well, I was close friends with him. We were the same age and we grew up together. And then I talked to him about, there was a park in the area, and they allowed drinks and whatever else. Like they made it known that they were liberal on what you could do there at the campground. So I invited him to hang out, to go disc golfing. And then, and he was a troublemaker when he was a witness too. And I just like, hey, if you want to go with me and my friend, they let you do whatever you want there, if you want to go with me, that's fine. Like I invited him out to that, and he's like, well, you don't even go to meetings anymore. I got to see you at some meetings before I do that with you. And I'm like, all right, forget I asked.
Aww.
But I would say about the good sides about being a witness. Did you watch Star Trek at all? Are you a Star Trek fan?
I was only into the original series.
Well, they had the Guardian of Forever, and what the Guardian Forever, it was like a donut shaped set. And then if you walk through it, you can go into any time period and interfere with the time frame.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they had that episode, and then what they learned was you can't control it. What you think it is ain't what it is, and that it's not something to mess with.
Right.
And so they figured that out. Like he couldn't save the life of his fling in the episode. Like he couldn't do anything to stop her. Yeah, he couldn't do anything to stop her from dying, because that's the way time presents it. That's the way the timeline has to work. So he sees like this device that has all this. It's got all this potential. It could do amazing things if you can go back in time and change things. But he's like, well, it doesn't work that way. So let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, let's do what we can with right now.
So even though it has the potential to do good things, it doesn't do good things. And that's when you got to cut bait and pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, you make a lot of sense. You're obviously a very intelligent guy. I'm just glad you got out. Can you imagine if you were still in, or only got out 2 or 3 years ago? What a mess.
Yeah. Your own mental sanity that's your currency. Like, and witnesses, the organization, they don't make any special accommodations for how you're feeling, or they don't even tell they don't even tell you you're not going crazy.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know how it would have gone down, but I think it wouldn't have been enjoyable. I'd have missed out on a lot of opportunities and a lot of experiences had I not left.
So did you go to university? You mentioned that a while back.
Yeah, I did get to go back to school for a couple years afterwards.
It's just sad how the Watchtower never encourages you to have any education to look forward to. And what's sad is they steal any hope of future, you know, because Armageddon, as far as I remember, Armageddon was always so close. It's just around the corner. It can come any day. You don't have time left. Time is short. It was like panic. So, you know, that's
Yeah, you
stupid.
gotta hedge your bet on that deal. Like, even if you're only a doctor for 2 years, that's 2 years more than you weren't a doctor for.
Exactly.
So, you know, always have like, if you think that the world's going to end and you want to survive it, that's good. But have a plan for when that doesn't happen, or if that doesn't happen.
I wish I'd had your brain. I should have thought, hey, I should just go to school and do what I want to do as a career. And if Armageddon comes, Armageddon comes. And if God's going to kill me for living, then God's going to kill me. But in the meantime, I'm going to live. That just sounds logical. Instead, I just thought, well, I'm going to die next week. What's the point? That's all Watchtower. At least it was that way back then.
Yeah, and I think the difference between church and religion and a cult is church and a religion are supposed to have positive impacts in your life, and a cult it's kind of all encompassing and it has negative impact on your life.
That's a pretty succinct way of putting it. It's so true. So true.
Like, and even witnesses portray it that way as well. This person used to do this and that. They were worldly. They were on drugs, and look at them now. They wear suits. They give talks. They're professional. Well, that's the way churches should work. But witnesses, I don't know if they do that. But I'll let the phone lines open up for somebody else to share their story. It was great talking, and this is therapy to me. I love it.
Oh, well, I hope you don't leave. And I really appreciate your taking the time to share whatever you felt.
Could I
Thank
ask
you
him
so
a
much.
question?
Of course. RJ, she wants to ask you a question.
Sure.
Hi, RJ. This is Susan. Now, I know when I gave my experience, it was almost like vomiting everything out. It just felt, I hate to put it that way, but it felt really good. Afterwards, I just felt like something lifted off of me. Do you kind of feel like that now, or that hasn't happened to you?
Oh. You know, I didn't always, I would say that I had like that part of me that kept my own personality, and it kept my own boundaries that I didn't really, I kind of kept my boundaries where Watchtower didn't take everything from me to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that finding out that I could not be a witness and be happy, yeah, that was kind of uplifting.
So are you still going?
But even when I was in, if somebody told me a movie was good and it was R-rated, I didn't say, well, what's Watchtower think of this? Or I would just watch it, and that's between me. So, you know, that I kind of kept boundaries. I kind of was a free spirit, even when I was a witness, you know.
So are you still going through that period of adjustment from being a witness to a non-witness, or you kind of reached that point?
Oh, that's long gone. I'm trying to understand where witnesses are coming from. Like, you haven't woken up yet? Come on.
Because I have to tell you, I've been out since 2010. I'm kind of still working. There's a lot, as years go by, things, you know, I deal with them, but sometimes things will pop up, and I'll say, well, why do I feel this way? And I'll say, it's because I was a witness before. So sometimes those things pop up.
Yeah, there's some morality aspects where, like gambling, like people can make money on gambling, but I always thought it was wrong as a witness, and that didn't change when I was not a witness. So I just thought, you know, gambling's a waste of money and it's a vice. It's not worth doing. But maybe, somebody has an open mind, or somebody that wants it a witness, they have a different view of it as I do. But, like gambling, for example, I still share the witness, viewpoint of it.
And my last question for you is, what was the hardest thing for you to adjust to?
Well, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine about being a witness, and I was sharing like details of it, and he's kind of zoning out, not paying attention and waiting to talk about what he wants to talk about. And then it struck, like that banged me over the head and said, there's no being a half witness. If I want to be a worldly person, I have to, or be a non-witness, I have to let go of all the witness stuff from before.
I like that term, I can't be a half witness. That's so true. You can't be half.
Because, it was still fresh in my mind, and I didn't disavow everything, I still thought of those people as, my people. But the longer you're away from it, the more you got to put that in your rear view mirror. And the lessons that you learn from being a witness, you have to learn something else that works for you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate this, because as you were going along, questions popped up in my mind, and I thought if they popped up in my mind, they might have in others, and they might want to know the answer. So thank you so much, RJ.
Oh, sure. You asked a good question, too.
Yeah, they were good questions. You really pointed out the fact that, Susan, that really it's about learning to make your own decisions and thinking things through on your own with your own capabilities of deduction and perception, while Watchtower wants you to just be completely blank, believe what we tell you to believe, and alter your thinking or adjust your thinking when we make adjustments, when they say the governing body has now decided. And it's like we weren't allowed to be free thinking adults. And Susan, you really pointed that out, and I thank you. And RJ, thank you so much for letting Susan ask questions.
I also enjoyed the point where he said that you can't be a half witness. That was new to me, a new thought. Because and I did that. I tried to be part in the truth and part not in the truth. It is so hard. You can't do it.
I think as far as membership, you're right. But I think as far as if you were born in, I'll always be a witness kid, just the same as I'll always be from Virginia, even if I moved to an Asian country. Like if a person moved to America from Asia, or if they had an Asian family and were born in America, they're going to have tastes and traits that are just part of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But as far as like mindset go and principles go, in this circumstance, it's okay to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
I don't know. I usually keep the baby and the bathwater and work with it and accept it. But you're right about gambling. But for myself, I would have no problem working at a casino.
Well, there wasn't any casinos that were close by, so I didn't have that predicament.
Right.
But I'll let somebody else call in and share their story, or have Rick talk.
Well, RJ, thank you. I just want to say, RJ, thank you. No, in fact, the statement that you made, you can't be a half witness. I like that too. And there was a circuit overseer, and just about every time he came around, he used the same example. You can't sit on the fence. You have to go one way or the other. What side are you going to be on? Jehovah's side or the side of the world? But that's true. You cannot be a half witness. But, I'll tell you what, that's basically what a PMO is, right? Maybe not quite half, but they're having doubts. Maybe to be one that's questioning. So, how many people in the organization right now, RJ? How many how many people do you think really don't believe this? They really don't believe it. Want to take a guess?
If out of 100, I would say 30%.
Yeah, well, actually, we've done some surveys here in the 6 screens, and when you think of a PMO, of course, the acronym physically in, mentally out. Well, when you think of that acronym, that's a person that's just going along in a perfunctory way. They really don't want to be one, but they know what will happen when they disconnect. So that number now, the witnesses claim right now to have 9 million Jehovah's Witnesses around the world. And doing the surveys we've done here in the past couple of years, we're estimating there's 4 million, just about 4 million PMOs. Isn't that amazing, huh?
If you're saying it's closer to 40 or 50%.
Yeah.
When I was in, I was at, we're talking, age 15 to 21. So I don't have telepathy. I can't even read people that well back then. But, there were some people at the meeting, they didn't seem very happy, and they kind of seemed like downbeat. Maybe they were female back then, and I just didn't pick up on it.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really surprised. I mean, you're a shop guy, and you came along, and you wanted to get baptized, and you felt good about being a witness at one time. I'm really surprised the brothers didn't love bomb you and push you into a position pretty quick,
Yeah.
Would that have changed your mind any if they did? In other words, suppose, things went well and you get baptized and things were going well for you in the witness world and they wanted to make RJ a ministerial servant. Would you have accepted that pretty readily?
I was kind of into the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I had to have a girlfriend. I had to have the basic needs met, like just, a leadership position and thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work for me.
Well, I'm really surprised. I mean, you sound like an intelligent guy. You say you're good looking. And I'm really surprised that we're having a hard time finding a witness girlfriend.
Yeah, there was only one girlfriend I liked one girl I liked from the hall. And then I think she didn't like me that way. So it was what it was. And then the other halls, I guess I just didn't know, run in the same circles to know everybody.
Well, I'm really surprised because there's way more girls or women in the organization than men. And boy, I would think that we'd be circling your wagon. Here's a guy coming in. He wants to be close to Jehovah. He's a mature man. He's the man for me. But maybe that's cooling off. And how many years ago was that?
18 years ago.
Oh, 18. Okay. Yeah. I was, Satan kicked me out of his organization about 20 years ago. So, but even then, I mean, things were changing. I could see things were changing. And can I ask how old you were when this all happened?
Well, I left when I was 21. I started going, I had family in, but I started taking it seriously when I was like 15.
Yeah. See, that's, you were ripe for, boy, I'm so glad that you kind of shook your way loose.
And if I passed by you, if we walked by each other in the street in 2004, you could tell me all the dirt and we'll see if I could have left a little bit sooner.
Yeah. So what was the main thing that really got you close to the exit door? What really kind of caused you to leave?
Well, there wasn't like one incident that was my boiling point, but it was that's a good question. I just thought about it's not good and help's not on the horizon. And so, I have to go alone on this one.
Now, you mentioned your uncle. He was a staunch or pretty loyal Jehovah's Witness. How about your mother and father, your mom and dad? How were they?
My mom was a staunch witness. My dad wasn't.
So your dad really didn't.
And then when I became a staunch witness, my dad said to me, you know, like he knew I was drinking the Kool-Aid. He said, one thing you're going to find out, kid, is no matter what you do, they're going to ask you to do more.
Well, your dad was a smart man. He was a smart man. He figured that out pretty easily.
That's true. Like, even if you are a special pioneer or anointed, nobody's really secure on their salvation there.
Oh, you know, I often think, Jay, I think if you were like a pioneer, or even just a regular publisher, and you went out in service, and all of a sudden one day you said, "Well, I'm going to spend 6 hours in the field ministry," and you placed 100 magazines, you placed 5 books, you start 2 studies, and you go into the Kingdom Hall the next day and tell an elder, "I did all of this yesterday." And then the elder would say, "Well, don't worry about yesterday. What are you going to do today?" No credit at all. No credit at all. Yes.
That's not how the world works. Like you level up, you kind of your accomplishments they go into the next thing, and you have to feel some pride, and you have to feel some accomplishment in what you're doing, and some individuality.
Yeah.
And the witnesses, they just tear all that down.
They bring it down. Hey, we got a lot of people want to talk to you. Let me call out the area code, and then you can say hello to RJ. Let's go. Hey, let's try 865. Did you want to speak up? 865. You're on with us.
Hello, RJ?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm listening to your story of being a witness, and there were similarities there. Actually, well, I was raised a witness, and then my parents divorced when I was young. Mom disfellowshipped, and I was, depending on who I was living with at the time, we switched custody. I was living with my dad. I was living the witness life. When we was living with Mom, we got to celebrate holidays, stuff like that. But anyway, years later, I was still in the thinking of the generation of 1914, and the 80-year anniversary of that generation was 1994. And up until that time, right before that, I started going to the Kingdom Hall again. And at the time, I was in a job that I didn't like my boss. It was kind of a bad job. But anyway, I went to this Kingdom Hall. A cousin had talked me into going. And I was still thinking, Armageddon was coming. So I started going to the Kingdom Hall. But like you, I looked around, and in the congregation I was going to, there was no young people my age. I was 21, 22. Most of the people there were 30s and 40s. So I would go around to different congregations. I lived in a rural area. Each county only had one congregation, if that. So I started going around all these congregations. And I didn't see very few young women my age. There was one friendly. We got to talking, and at this one Kingdom Hall in Kentucky, and then, but I just started going around these congregations. I didn't see many people my age that were single. So I understand what you went through, and I was stuck in the mindset that Armageddon was coming. But in late '93, I quit the job that I was working in, went back to my old job there, and I was so much more happier. I had friends. I felt more of a connection with the community. And then, New Year's Eve, '93, I had to make up my mind now because I knew Armageddon was coming, and I just couldn't get baptized. I couldn't go through all the steps. I wanted to get baptized because I knew, I thought Armageddon was coming, but all the studying and then going through the questions, I just never could do it. Plus, I was still living somewhat a worldly life on the side, you know, when they weren't around. You know, I would still participate in things, you know, Christmas. If I was with family, I would celebrate Christmas or whatever. But anyway, I made up my mind that Christmas Eve, I was just going to leave the witnesses forever. I would not get baptized, and that I was going to try to have somewhat of a normal life before I was destroyed. So I ended up marrying the first girl I dated, even though I did have a few girlfriends in school. But the first girl I dated after that, we got married, and then it was tumultuous marriage. But anyway, I just enjoyed listening to your experiences, and I know what you feel. I went through that in 1993. You know, I was searching around. I was looking. I was like, because I was single, you know, I wanted to have a girlfriend, be married, have kids. I wanted that normal life, you know. And so anyway, I got free of that religion, but I actually didn't wake up to it until I got on the internet like 4 years later in 1997. And then I discovered the real truth about the truth. And how I wish, you know, there was no organizations. I didn't see any kind of like apostate organizations around. I would have gotten in touch with them just to see what they had to say. And I kept help but think, you know, how much different it would have been if I would have discovered the real truth about the truth before I did. But anyway, that's my story.
Yeah, as far as like friendships and dating and all that, sometimes it's just the era that you're in, like the time frame that you're in. Like if you look at rock music, like let's say you're a fan of, you know, you're a fan of music. Well, you know, you had the late 80s was hair metal. If that's not your thing, and then you have grunge, which had, you know, Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden and all the stuff that people still like. It's great if you lived in that grunge era, and then a few years later you have Korn and Limp Bizkit and a lot of stuff that's really dated and not very good in my opinion. Just that little time frame, you know, like if you would ask, hey, what was being a rock fan like at this time? They would say it's great, but you know, your mileage might vary because every 5 years is different. You know, people come and people go.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I wish I would have discovered the real truth earlier, but you know, there was nothing out there. I didn't see anything. I didn't really figure it out until it was the 1995 generation change. And I'm trying to remember what the exact change was or the wording, but when I read it, I knew they were lying and covering their tracks. And then all doubt was removed from them.
Yeah, pre-witness, like information about, or I'm sorry, pre-internet witness information. Like, I'm sure some like Bible scholars and some of them knew what was going on. And you had some videotapes exposing the Watchtower. But yeah, it's not a click of a button where it is now. So.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was just, if I could have met people. Now, I don't know if so-called worldly...
and being a witness, they get their hooks in you. Like, you can't see up from down. Like, even if somebody told you their honest experience and it was all bad, you're not, as a witness, you're not going to take that all in and fully understand and empathize with that the way you would being open-minded and non-brainwashed, you know?
Right, yeah. But I remember when I made up my mind, I quit going to the meetings in late 93. And then in 94, I remember feeling such freedom. It was like I broke out of prison. You know, I'm over this. You know, I still didn't know if it was the truth or not. I still expected Armageddon to come, you know.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I think it was my dad was making a delivery, and this was over in the city. And, city has like pollution and all that. So the skies were like blood red. And then I remember thinking, hey, what if this is Armageddon?
Yeah.
Not that it's pollution or not that it's just not the best area, but the blood red skies, it reminded me that Armageddon's coming.
Right. But the one thing that I could never get my mind around was it was supposed to be the destruction of Babylon the Great was supposed to happen before Armageddon. According to them, Babylon the Great was be destroyed. And even back then, I keep thinking, that's not going to happen anytime soon, So, that's something I was going to tell you about, but I forget what I was going to say about.
Yeah, there is like a between Armageddon, there would be some years where there's a like apocalyptic world going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not for us to really tell. That if it happens, it happens. But it's not something to really worry about.
Hey, Junction Guy, this is Rick Farron, Junction Guy. I'm really fascinated hearing you two guys talk. Well, what I wanted to ask you, now you say you got out in 93, and in 95, you're pretty much along with freedom, as you're saying. Now, the question that I would have is back then when you got out in 93, the internet was just getting going. So you probably felt pretty much all alone back then. Like I was saying, there were no communities such as we have here or other YouTube videos or anything at that time. So it's kind of reminiscent of what a man told me that got out right around that same time period. He thought he was the only apostate in the world. He didn't realize there was so many others out there. It's the internet that really opened this all up, where we could now get together and talk and share our thoughts. But back then it was difficult getting out because you were alone. You were all alone for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
I know you used to go on JWN. Was that around in 93?
I don't know if it was. I wasn't even on the internet till 97.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. No, in fact, back in the early 90s, if you were, we didn't have internet, we didn't have phones and devices like we have now. But if you were disfellowshipped, and I knew one person that was in 90, right around 93, 92, that was disfellowshipped, and he had a terrible time. He thought I'm dead. Jehovah hates me. Everybody hates me. I'm the only apostate. He couldn't connect with anyone. And then, of course, when the internet started coming into existence, it was very difficult to get on there. You had to use coding and everything else just to contact people. But it's really email. Email is, he told me, is what really saved him, even though it was very archaic. It's not as nice as email today, but they would email each other back and forth. That was the only way they could really find other apostates. And of course, with the advent of the internet and it really gaining momentum, more and more people, like today, we were talking last night about the internet being the great equalizer, but now we have AI. AI is the great destroyer. That's the great destroyer of the Watchtower.
Oh, Rick, but there's a lot of questions AI won't answer, though.
Oh, yeah, I know that. In fact, we were talking about that last night.
If I could cut in there,
sure.
Even when I was in, I think we learn about it now. I think it was the Barbara Ann Dateline interview that was talked about a little bit among witnesses in 2002.
That's right.
And witness, like as far as like the grand scope of things, they're kind of a pimple on the ass. They're not really that important. So some witnesses would watch Dateline even if it was bad, just because they're talking about witnesses.
Oh, I'll tell you, that was a wonderful thing. Did you watch it back in 2002?
I didn't watch it then, but I've watched it now.
You know what I did back then, RJ? I found out that it was coming on. Now, I was still a card-carrying, loyal Jehovah's Witness. And so what I did, because I was starting to see some big cracks in the Watchtower. So during the Watchtower lesson in the Kingdom Hall, I brought up when they when I made a comment, they said, "Now, brothers and sisters, we have a special coming on this week about Jehovah's Witnesses on Dateline, the NBC show." And I said, we all want to probably watch and see what they're going to say. Boy, I'll tell you, I got chastised for that. When the meeting ended, an elder came right up to me and said, "Rick, why did you mention that program?" I said, "Well, I thought it would be interesting. It's going to be a national program about Jehovah's Witnesses." So he says to me, "Do you know what it's about?" I said, "Well, I heard it's about, child molestation, pedophilia in the Watchtower." And he says, "Well, do you believe that?" And I said, "Well, I haven't seen the program yet." He was so upset. But a lot of witnesses, you're right, RJ, they did see that show. Yeah.
Now what early like YouTube video or it's uploaded to YouTube, but it might have been something else back then, or like a different format back then. But what was the like early XJW content that got you? Rick?
Well, what happened is what ticked me off probably the most is a number of things, but I've told my story before. I got to know a governing body member in Brooklyn, and I was of the anointed class. I mean, don't it wasn't anything special, but the witnesses say it is. But I just really believed in Jesus in a way that they didn't. So I partook, and I was in good standing, and I got to know Garrett Loesch, governing body member. I've told the story. I won't go into it all.
He's still there, by the way.
Oh, he's still there. Yep. So he was very concerned. He called me the outside anointed. He said that there was inside anointed, and I was the outside anointed. So he
That meant that you lived outside of
Brooklyn,
Watchtower headquarters.
right? So he took it as it was almost like a class. Really, he said, "Now you are of the outside anointed, and I want you to find out, what the outside anointed are thinking about." I said, "Okay." So I was in search of the anointed. I would go to conventions and ask. I'd be walking around convention, not even knowing half of, and most of the brothers and sisters there. But I'd tell them during lunchtime that, I'm looking for anointed ones. Do you have any in your congregation? And boy, I was so surprised. Everyone would say, "Well, yeah, we have, well, Sister Jones, she's anointed, she partakes, but she's a wicked alcoholic. Brother Zealous, he comes and he partakes, but he's got mental issues." I mean, every story I heard about the anointed, and in most of them, I contacted 10 of them, and 8 of them were getting, from what I can remember, were getting ready to be disfellowshipped. So, Loesch wanted to hear more about this. So he invited me down to New York. He was we got along good. He liked me. As a matter of fact, he invited me down to Brooklyn, New York in the year 2000 and for a potential position on the governing body. And when I got down there, I said, "No way. I don't want any part of this. This is not the truth." And that was it. So that's the story I had to tell. But just to kind of bring you up to speed, Satan actually kicked me out of the organization back in 2005. And so I immediately went on YouTube. Now, at the time I went on YouTube, from what I can remember, it wasn't even owned by Google. There was another company, but there was only 5 of us on there. There's only 5 of us on YouTube at the time exposing the Jehovah's Witness. Now there's hundreds of people doing it. But I can tell you this: the first video we did was outside my Kingdom Hall, and where I got this fellowship, it got 1 million views. And even to this day, people write me and say they saw that. And the point that I wanted to make with this whole thing is YouTube wasn't really like it was today. And there was a couple of forums online, JWN, in fact, Junction Man there, Junction Boy, he's aware of that. And then along came Reddit, along came Facebook groups and all of this. But this is really what's killing the Watchtower. We are getting we're getting points on the scoreboard, RJ. And it's collectively, all of us together, yourself telling your story on here today. And I wanted to mention to you too that during this broadcast, when you came on, and because we're talking here and we're having a good time this afternoon, I got a number of spam calls coming in. These are active Bethelites. I mean, I'm quite certain they are. They try to disrupt this program any way they can. But I got 4 or 5 calls trying to kind of do this program and listening to this at the same time. But they hate it when we can all come together like we are here today. See, they want to make us feel when we leave the Watchtower, we're like a dog returning to the vomit. But they don't want to see us happy. They don't want to see us have friends. But look at all the friends, RJ and Junction Boy. Look at all the friends we've been meeting here in the ex-witness world. Isn't it really nice?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So anyone else want to? We got a lot of
What's in heaven, the gates of hell can't come up against it.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. Hey, we got a lot of people. I don't know what's going on here, but I was telling my wife this morning, our little network here is exploding. I'm looking at a complete computer screen filled with telephone numbers. This is very unusual. I mean, this is.
Now, Rick, when was like the first time you watched Witnesses of Jehovah, the 80s documentary?
Oh, the documentary? Oh, yeah, no. I would have saw that back in 2004. 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other things were Jerry Bergman, he did like a one-on-one interview. Forget who he did it with, but he just talked about how being a witness is not good for your mental health.
Well, we've actually had we've had him on the program, Dr. Bergman.
Yeah, he did an interview. It was the guy that actually did the Witnesses of Jehovah, the main narrator.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know his name.
Yeah, I forget it though. Yeah, I know him and his wife who made the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually,
but yeah, he did a one-on-one interview, and he was just talking about how witnesses are being a witness. It just does a number on you.
Well, Dr. Jerry Bergman, we've been doing this about 20 years now, maybe a little over that. But we've been doing this program, and we've been doing it for 20 years without really missing a night on Saturday. And we had Dr. Bergman on 3 times. And I've asked him recently, but he can't do it. I think he's getting kind of old, to be quite frank. But he did come on. He talked about his connection with the Jehovah's Witnesses and how they have 4 times the mental illness problems than the average religion has. That's Jehovah's Witnesses. So he solidified that. And, I'll tell you, in fact, the things I can remember, and I wish I had the sound clip right here so you could hear it. But just on the subject of Dr. Jerry Bergman, he told us a story here on the 6 screens that I will never forget. As a matter of fact, sometimes it could even keep you up at night, believe me. But what he said is there was a convention, and it was a hot day. And at the convention, they used to have 50, 60, 100,000 people at these big arenas. And at the convention, it was 2 babies died. 2 babies died. He might have said 3, but I'm just going with 2 here from what I can remember. He said 2 babies died because of the mothers. They'd have them in the carriage, then they'd put a blanket on the baby, and the baby would get too hot and die. And so he wanted the Watchtower. He was like an advisor. He was a psychiatrist for the Watchtower, and he wanted the Watchtower to make an announcement at the convention. Brothers and sisters, be aware that it's very hot. Make sure your babies are not covered over with blankets. And he went to the administration, said, I want to make an announcement. And they said, no, we don't make announcements like that. Can you imagine that? Talk about a cruel.
Rick, Jerry Bergman, his main gripe about, I'm sure he has a lot of gripes with the witnesses, but his personal gripe was he sold his stamp collection right before 1975 because he thought it was the end. And then, of course, if he would have held on to his stamps, they increase every year.
Oh, yeah, like coins. Yeah, that's true. But hey, we all have a lot of bones to pick with the Watchtower, RJ. I mean, there's a lot of people listening in here today, and I'll tell you what, every one of them has a story. Every single one of these people that are listening into this program today, and even if they've never been a Jehovah's Witness, we have a lot of people listening to the 6 Screens programming, not because they've suffered the problems of being a witness, but they're suffering the problems of their relatives being a witness. I talked to one man the other day. It wasn't on my radio program, but in a store I was in. I do business. I have a sign business. And I was talking to a customer, and he told me his sister was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and he said the husband wasn't, but he said what turmoil it caused in the family. Come Christmas time, she wouldn't come with the husband. So she couldn't do it because of her conscience. It wouldn't let her do it. The same with birthday parties. So, there's a lot of people listening to this program that are trying to find out why Jehovah's Witnesses act the way they do. Because, the relatives know they're strange. There's no question about it. And the world is now catching up on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Everybody's realizing how weird and how strange the organization is.
Okay, so there's a comment on here that says that the Witnesses of Jehovah and also the interview with Jerry Bergman, it was Leonard and
Marjorie.
Marjorie. Okay. You know what Leonard's last name was?
If you tell it to me, I'll remember it. I can't remember offhand, no. But that was a great documentary. It really was. That was really wonderfully done. They had Ray Franz in there. They had the false teachings of the Watchtower. They had the protest up there in Brooklyn with Joan Setner. That was a very good film. Well done. Well done. Yeah.
And back in those days, ex-witnesses, they could only get on the Christian broadcasting talk shows and all that to expose it.
Well, there was a program on TV, Daystar Network was supposedly a Christian, network, and they had a program on there called John Ankerberg. And John Ankerberg, he really had a real bone to pick with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And on numerous times, he had Jehovah's Witnesses come on and tell their story like we're doing here today. And Joan Setner and a bunch of people were on there talking about how the Watchtower is and what they do to people and how cruel and destructive they are. So, and also he wrote a book, and I'll tell you what, I got the book. I wish I had it right in front of me because I showed it to the audience, but he actually written the book with another man. I forget who it was, but this is where I learned something that I never thought of. In John Ankerberg's book, he actually identified the Jehovah's Witnesses as being a hate group. He put them in the same classification as the white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan. Right in the book. That really rocked my boat when I saw that. I says, I never really thought of it, but they are a hate organization. They are driven by hate. They hate anything that they hate anything that's outside the Watchtower. You name it, they hate it. The only thing they yeah.
Rick, they say in science that coldness is the absence of heat, and then you think about the hate in the Watchtower. I don't know if it's hate, strictly hate. It's just the absence of love.
Well, my wife here, Susan, when I first met her, this is how I really met her. She ran what we call the 6 Screens hotline. And at one time, there was a hotline out there by a woman, Marilyn Stifle, I believe her name was. And she had a hotline, telephone line. This is really before the internet. And somehow it got out there that she was doing this, and you could call Marilyn up. She was an ex-Jehovah's Witness. And you called in, and the people call. In fact, I'm thinking the phone number ended with 1914, and many people called her up and talked about their trek in the Watchtower, like we're doing here. But it wasn't like nobody could hear. We're live on YouTube. But Susan, when Marilyn Stifle died, Susan, my wife, kind of took that over, and she had a hotline for people, even Jehovah's Witnesses. She got many Jehovah's Witnesses calling in too. And the biggest thing, and boy, she was getting something. I remember one day she got I believe it was 8 to 10 calls in one day of people that were leaving the Watchtower. And I remember the reason why most people were leaving the Watchtower And what do you think the reason is, RJ, why most people leave the Watchtower?
Where's the love?
You got it, baby. Right there. That's it. It's where is the love? They had no love. And that's what was really making them leave. Where's the love? I mean, really, when you stop and think about it. But there's people that leave for theological reasons. There's people who leave for scandalous reasons. There's people leaving right now because of what that November 2025 Watchtower article had to say about, be patient, Jehovah's patient, and, Armageddon may not come in your lifetime. There's a lot of people leaving right now because of that nutty article. Yeah. Wow, we got a number on here. My goodness gracious. Did you want to say something to RJ? He's still on here with us. If you'd like to say something, go ahead and just hit *6 and you're on with us. Well, Anne-Marie, who they were? Yes.
Oh, hey, it's Eric. How you doing? How you guys doing? Hi, RJ.
How's it going?
Good. There's a couple of subjects that got brought up that I'm going to tie in real quick and see how you guys feel about it. First of all, Rick talked about the drunken Bethelites, and this is kind of a tie-on from last night. But I have something happening to me in the ex-Jehovah's Witness world that's happened more than 3 times already. And what it is I'm having people who claim that they're ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but still believe in the teachings, even if they're not aware of it. Or they can't handle that they were in a false religion. I'll give you for an example. I said one time, and I think everyone in our community can agree with this, but you boys tell me if you do. Being a Jehovah's Witness was a complete waste of time. How do you feel about that?
It's the sunk cost fallacy, right?
Well, let me tell you why a reaction that I got from that when I said that. Oh, what do you mean? And got really mad. I don't think it was a waste of time at all. It taught my kids or whoever principles and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but it was all laced with cult-like behavior. Well, I believe that all the witnesses are good people. And I'm like, well, I don't. And I know that we preach that the witnesses, it's not all their fault. They listen to orders, but so did Nazi Germany. And here we are talking about hatred and how the witnesses have hate, how they don't have love. A lot of people left because there's no love. A lot of people know that they just love. So at what point are they really that good? I'm not talking about Armageddon making it good or like judgment. I'm just saying I don't think I'm going to go out on a limb here for myself at least and say that when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I was more of an asshole than I ever was a better person. I had become a better person leading it. And just like Rick says, he came across, or he found it that he knew everything about, our faith, the Christian faith. And we did. We thought we had a special knowledge of it all. But what I end up finding is people don't want to admit to themselves that they were in this, that they weren't the better version of themselves. And they're making excuses. And so like when Rick brings up the drunken Bethelites, Zachary says, and if Zachary you're listening, you can rebuttal at any time. But Zachary says, oh, wait, hold on a second. I was a Bethelite and it's not all that bad, but we know Bethel was bad. And we're not saying you're bad, but you're taking it personal. And so did my ex-wife, not Desiree. So did my friend. They're taking it personal. And they're like, and so what's happening is they're becoming Jehovah's Witness apologists. A friend of mine in Spain, I had to stop talking to her because she kept saying how great the witnesses are. And, she doesn't believe in the teachings, but they're so kind. And I'm like, gee, for people who are abused like myself and so many others on this platform, I just don't see that. But I have found that the Watchtower's teachings are so strong that not everybody can shed away the beliefs. And I think that's the true danger, not just for the people themselves, but other people who come in contact that want nothing to do with the witnesses like myself. But anyways, I thought I'd bring that up and see how you guys thought about it, because it's something that I keep finding, and it's very bizarre.
You want to answer that, RJ? Want me to go first?
Oh, yeah, I think it's just the sunk cost fallacy. You spend so much time doing something, you have to justify your time spent in it.
Well, Eric,
Um,
well, no, that in fact, we bring that up a lot. That it's like a person buying lotto tickets every day. You know, he buys a lotto ticket, does it once, so he spent like already $2,000 on lotto tickets in the last 5 years. So now he says, "Well, geez, if I stop now, I'll never win." So you keep thinking, you know, you put so much time into it, you can't stop now. But that's a good reason too why a lot of people have that feeling on that connection to for the Watchtower, RJ. And I got thinking as Eric was talking, I have said here numerous times on the six screens, I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet for the Watchtower organization. And the reason why I can say that, and I think about this, I really, really do. I have a wife, a beautiful, and wait a minute, I think we just lost contact here with something. Let me see if I can come back on. Let me see what happened here. I lost my video. Hold on 1 second. Why we lost video contact? Just stay with us if you have the. Get back on here. Give me a second. Why is that doing that? Okay, here we are. We're back now, but I got the wrong camera. But we can use this camera. That's fine. At least we're back on the air. But let me just go back to that story. Why I have a soft spot. I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. The reason why is I have a wife here that has two beautiful daughters, and she raised them in the truth, her and her ex-husband, and they actually became like missionaries in China at one point. Very smart girls, and but you know they've disconnected from Susan, my wife, because Susan wasn't going to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. But these two daughters have not talked to my ex-wife for, I would say, 20 years or more than that, around that at least. And how refreshing it would be if my wife could have her daughters talk to her. That would be so important. And many people listening into this program today, how important would that be to have your relatives and friends that haven't talked to you for years, your children, your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunt, to be able to now talk with you? Wouldn't that be refreshingly great? But you know, the Watchtower breaks families up, and how sad that is. And on that basis, I have a very hard time having any feeling at all for these bums. And then if you want to couple that with child sex abuse being covered up, if you want to topple that with being shunned, if you want to also bring in the fact that many witnesses have died from refusing blood, many of the screwball doctrines of the Watchtower, how can you feel good about them? I can't feel good. Yeah. Yeah.
So many other religions do the same thing. That's what I get told. The Catholics, the Baptists, everybody else. And I'm like, no, it's not quite the extremity of what we have to go through.
Yeah. Well, I get
and I have to agree with you, Rick. I don't have a soft spot for any of the people in the organization except for the fakers, the chemo, physically and mentally out. Other than that, everybody else needs to. They all have to wake up. They're all in limbo right now, and they all need to wake up because they're not. If you're actively shunning someone in your family or your friends, you're not a good person.
December 5th, 2012, my date of freedom, is what woke me. Now, like I said, we just lost her, and I have family still on Long Island, and we all met this past Friday at, my brother's house. It was his wife. One of my brothers, I'm the oldest of 9, and only 2 are still in Watchtower. My brother, who's still in Watchtower, he was there. And, usually when you have a funeral or you have a gathering with family, you put everything aside. Okay? He didn't. At first, he wanted to just shake my hand. I was like, okay. Then he said, hey, Sharon. And I said, hey, Mike. And then the next thing was he was standing on the other side of the room, and everybody was eating pizza, but he wasn't. And I said, how come you're not eating? Oh, I took a pill for my stomach. I can't eat. I knew that was a lie, but I let it go. Now, I was not disfellowshipped. I disfellowshipped them. I would not give them that power over me after 53 years of being in there. So I left it alone, and then he left, and I said to my husband, did you see the way he was treating me? And he was like, yeah, that was really bizarre. And I said, no, it wasn't, because my brother who lost his wife, he was disfellowshipped way back in 1981. And my brother spoke with him, and it was very congenial. And it was like long lost friends, And the way he treated me, now I'm the older sister, and this never really happened to me. But my brother, who was disfellowshipped in 81, does not expose Watchtower. I do, daily, and even hourly if I have to. There is a gentleman who lives across the street from me that I am fiercely protecting from them, because these guys, they won't give up. They just constantly visit him. And I told him, I said, you got to be careful, these people, because of your age. They're vultures. And, I've had him watch a lot of videos. And also, I just found out recently, within the last 2 weeks, that my own aunt gave $150,000 to the Watchtower. I flipped, because she was giving him $400 a month in addition to that. And my cousin says, well, would you like somebody to come in through your front door and tell you what to do with your money when you sold your house and you were elderly? I said, if I didn't know where the money was going, that's one thing. But if I was aware or somebody knew about it and didn't tell me, that's another thing. I was just totally blown away with this. Then yesterday, I was watching Ask Dr. K, and he brought up about that lawsuit in Norway and how they have to greet witnesses now, but not eat with them yet. And I was like, oh, that's why my brother is still acting like this. Is that incredible or what?
It sure is. So you see a real behavioral change, Sharon.
Yeah.
You're not the first one.
Seriously.
You're not the first one that told me this. I had about 6 people tell me the same thing. And it even kind of happened in my family. All of a sudden, I had a sister that really hasn't spoken to me in years talk to me. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really out of love that she's wanting to connect with her only brother, or if it's because the Watchtower is saying, fine, you can talk to them, or, they're going lighter on this now. So you don't know if it's real, genuine love, or they're dictating it from the Watchtower to do it, and try to get them back on the so-called truth.
Well, you know what, Rick? As regards to what you say, if you don't know if it's real, genuine love, if love has to be held hostage at the word of 9 lunatics in New York then it's not love. It never was, and it probably never will be. And I think most of the people who are thrown at a Watchtower, they just don't fit because those people know how to love and they don't fit the puzzle. So they get tossed out.
Well, Sharon, can you remember when you first came in the so-called truth and how you were love bombed?
3.
And then, oh, you were okay. Well, you were young. You probably can't remember it, but I'll just what it is. If you came in like as a teenager, maybe in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even at 50, 60 and up, you're gonna be love bombed. And I can remember there was a sister in my congregation that she would go out and she was a hustler. She was a pioneer and she did good. She got a lot of people to come to the Kingdom Hall. And what she would do ahead of time, she'd come up to you, when you were coming in the door. Oh, Brother Farron, my return visit's here today. Would you come over and let her know that she's really welcome? And she did this to all the people. So all the witnesses would go over and have a big crowd around the return visit coming in. And boy, the person would really feel that's the real definition of being love bombed right there. I mean, you have 10 people around you hugging you and, oh, it's so good you came to the meeting, but it's all false. It's not even genuine. It's contrived, you know?
Yeah.
Your sister's conscience is bothering her, and she wants to love you, but she can't because they never taught. They always taught you just to shun and be judgmental, and there is no love, really.
Well, even that your love is put on pause. Just in case they do something wrong, I got to stop it right here.
Right?
Conditional love.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the Watchtower says, it's okay, you can love them again, you hit the pause button and life continues until it's time to hit it again.
It's conditional love. When you're born, your parents give you unconditional love. It doesn't matter what you do wrong. Or if you have true friends, they hurt you sometimes, that you give them love, right? Unconditional. Not with the Jehovah's Witness. And
no,
their conscience bothers them. They want to be with their family and stuff like that in the back of their mind. That's the way the brain works, but they can't, I mean, that's all I can say. It's a catch-22 because she really does want to talk to you and she does love you, but it was sort of conditional for all those years.
I think the way the Watchtower has construed it is people love with their heart. They're not allowed to pay attention to their heart because the heart is treacherous. So if you're loving somebody and the Watchtower is telling you they're a bad person, of course you can't trust your heart. So you got to turn it off and on.
Yeah. So I got a switch on there. Watchtower switch.
Right.
Well, it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. Go ahead, Marty. Yep.
The Watchtower used to turn me on, but I tell you what, now the switch is flicked off, man. They turn me off, buddy.
I'm glad to hear that.
But
welcome to real life.
You got it, and Sharon. I know we've heard Sharon's.
You
yes, you better believe it. No, in fact, but isn't it really cruel when you stop and think about it? What a fake organization. Don't you like genuineness? Don't you like truth? This backbiting and everything the witnesses do to people is just atrocious. How they even have lasted this long, I have no idea. They just keep trying to bring.
They're perfect little 1984 soldiers. That's what they are.
We were looking for truth. That's why we went in there. Of course we want truth. We were looking for it, but just like everywhere else, you can't find it anymore. You got to just keep on searching your own heart, making sure you're truthful to everybody.
Well, Marty, in fact, Marty, I like what you just said. You can't find the truth anymore. I've been saying this right along. You can't believe the news. You can't believe the news. You can't believe the political people. You can't believe your religion. You can't believe the TV evangelizers. Who do you believe these days? What's really truth?
Rick, are you, I don't mean to cut you off in this, but are you allowed to speak anything spiritual in your show today with RJ? I mean, is that for another time? I'll be happy to come back
Oh no! Oh no!
What
This
you
is no.
just said.
Well, no. This is Christianity. Well, this is spiritual day. This is we discuss theology.
Okay,
So
okay, because I know Saturday night you don't do that.
right, but you got something to say spiritual? Say it.
Okay, I don't know how many people are going to believe this, and this is the first time I'm speaking about this. Okay, it's going to take a lot. All right, I totally believe in prayer. Okay, totally. Let me go back first to lay the groundwork a little bit for RJ. I lost my youngest to brain cancer. It was 11 years ago, Christmas Eve. He fought 9 years. And 2 years before I lost her, I woke up. So I had no real support from 5 decades of friends. Okay. 2 weeks before my daughter passed, she woke up and I had not given her any medication yet. And I moved her over to her commode and she said, "Mom, look at the floor." I lived in North Carolina and they got these huge palmetto bugs that are everywhere, outside, inside, they're everywhere. And I thought that's what she saw. So I was looking at the floor and I was like, what am I looking for? Where did it go? And she said, "No, don't you see the floor? It opened up, it's full of mud." Now, like I said, I did not give her any meds yet. And my daughter was extremely mad at God, extremely. She had an 11-year-old daughter. Her husband committed suicide 2 years prior because he didn't want to see her pass. So she was really mad at God. And when she had that sight, I got really, really scared for her. So I said a silent prayer. And I said, "Father, if she belongs to your son, please send someone to wake her because I can't." It was like the first time in my entire life I completely surrendered my power. All right. And 2 hours later, I get a phone call from this lady in Wilmington. I never met this lady. Okay. And she said, "I have to come pray for Raina." Now, mind you, I didn't let any strangers in the house because of how ill my daughter was. And so I gave her the directions, the address, and she said, "I'll see you in a little bit." So it was 90 miles to my house. Okay. So when she got to the house and I opened the door, I said, "My name is Sharon." And she said, "I have to go pray with Raina." I brought her in. Okay. I never did this with strangers, but because I had just prayed, this was like the answer. Meanwhile, I did not say this prayer to anybody to make sure it was being answered by the right person, Father. Okay. So she went into my daughter. When my daughter saw her, like I said, we didn't know this lady. She said, "Hi, Grandma." And my daughter just lightened up. You had to see this to believe this. All right. She was with my daughter for about 45 minutes praying. And then she came out and she said, "Everything's going to be all right." So I said, "Do you want some coffee? I'll put some coffee up." She says, "No, I got to go." And I said, "You want some money for gas?" No, everything is all right. And everything will be all right. I know this sounds a little bizarre, but this is just a background to show you how much I believe in prayer. Okay. All right. So from that moment on, my daughter actually glowed. She did not look ashy and sick anymore, although we knew she was going to pass. And from then, all she kept saying was, "Mom, I'm on the ceiling. I don't know why I'm up here, but I'm on the ceiling." So that was very comforting to me. I did not tell anybody that prayer until the end of the day. I knew who answered it. And I was, even though I missed my daughter to death, I know she's okay. All right. That prayer was answered. All right. Now, this past June 4th, I was diagnosed with grade 3 breast cancer, HER2 positive. Okay. 2 weeks after that, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Okay. From that point on, I was pushed and pushed. These doctors wanted to give me chemo. And I saw what my daughter went through. I was not about to do this. All right. And I had prayer walls around me. And I prayed every day. And I kept praying Psalms 107:20. And I would visualize my T cells and my white blood cells getting strong, and Christ himself inside of my body using fire to kill all my cancer cells. Okay. Now, they were going on. I mean, I was going back and forth because I had other things going on with doctors, but I was determined not to get the chemo. And it went up to December 16th that just passed, that I was fighting them. And then I was almost resolved because my family kept pushing me to do it. And the gentleman across the street gave me the name of a drug. And he said, look this up. And I did. Now I have an underlying health problem. It is called FEB.21. Okay. It is a genetic defect in my pancreas. I'm the oldest living person with it because I'm female. Men who get this disease, this genetic disorder, do not live past the 40s. But I'm almost 70 and I'm still alive. So I put the stink factor with the drugs that these people wanted to put in me. I don't even consider them doctors because it was almost like they just wanted to poison me for money. And if I would have taken those drugs that they wanted to push in me, I would have been dead in 3 weeks. Because stink, the I means inhibitor. Nothing would prevent those drugs from killing me. It would make the cancer cells supercharged. So December 16th, I went to the hospital, and because like I said, I was almost resigned to the fact that I had to do this. This was before I did the research. And when they accessed the port I have, it felt like they were training my life. And I told the oncologist nurse that. And she said, in 30 years, nobody has ever said that. And I said, oh, I'm the first one in 30 years? Okay, that's really, really strange. So then that night, I was almost like a 6-year-old on my bed, screaming and kicking my legs because every fiber in my body was screaming at me not to do the chemo. I went to bed, went to the oncologist the next morning, and this December 17th. And I said, I don't want the chemo. And he said to me, do you know what you're doing? And I said, yeah, I'm taking my life in my hands. I was having a PET scan done on January 2nd. And I said, that will determine my answer. But I already knew I was not doing this. And I was praying and praying. And I had people praying for me. I had my CAT scan done January 2nd. January 6th, I got my results. This patient has 0 malignancy. You tell me prayer don't answer.
Wow.
You don't get your prayers answered.
Wow, Sham. Boy, that is an amazing story. Well, there you go. You got a good relationship with God. And isn't that amazing that he could help you like that, huh? Good for you.
Yeah. And, Dan and Angela, they were at my house for Thanksgiving. And they were like, "You don't even look sick." I said, "I don't feel sick. I feel fine." And they were like, "Look at all the energy you have."
Well, I tell you
I
what.
know prayers get answered. I know that. Because, Rick, I've been on your show several times. And I have said on your show, don't pray aloud. Because every time you do, the witnesses show up. This is a perfect example. We were on our way to Roanoke for one of my appointments. And I saw a sign that said, Berean Church this way. So I said to my husband, "Oh, I'm going to look them up when we come home." So I looked them up, and 501c3, nope, don't want nothing to do with that. So I said aloud, knowing I should not have, "I wish there was a church nearby that had like-minded people." Next day, 24 hours, bingo, witness knocking at my door. And I went into my husband, I said, "What did I tell you?" Every time I talk to the Father aloud, they show up.
Wow.
And it's every time.
Well, I'll tell you what, it really makes my heart glad that you could bring this up on the program today, because my wife and I, we love God. We pray a lot.
Yes.
And I would encourage anyone that's listening in, even though you might have feelings about it. I mean, a lot of ex-witnesses, they kind of disconnected from God altogether. But your story, Sharon, can help people. Try prayer.
You know, Rick, that's why I felt I had to say something, because I have kept this quiet. Only a few people in XJW community knew. And when I heard RJ's story, I said, no, I got to tell people. I mean, you got to pray. Prayer works. It works every time. But the secret to that is you got to do it silent unless there's more than one person with you. Because those demons are listening, and the witnesses are the minions. They are after this man across the street like you wouldn't believe. One day, they sent 4. And I said to him, "Whoa, you got a judicial committee. What did you do?"
Wow.
And he's not a witness. They're just after him. And then he said to them, "You know, I have a lady who lives across the street who used to go to your church." And they said, "Yeah, we know who she is." No, they don't know who I am. They know what I'm doing.
Well, that's amazing. Well, Sharon, it's so good that you can get that off your shoulders and talk to the people here today. Everyone really is on the edge of their seat, and they all appreciate that, Sharon. You coming on and telling your little story there. We really, all of us appreciate it. We wish you all the best with
No problem.
with your health too, and sharing that's a very enlightening story that makes you feel good. I'm walking away from here feeling really good today. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah. And you know what that enforces, Rick? The scripture that woke me up, Psalms 146:3. Do not trust in man. If I would have trusted in men and doctors, I'd be dead. And you know what verse kept going on in my head? He who tries to save his life will lose it. That's what I kept thinking. But Psalms 107:20, God sent his word, and his word healed me.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. Now, I think we have someone who wants to say hello to you. If you'd like to say hello to Sharon, go ahead. Come on, say hello to Sharon.
Sharon?
Hey.
Hi. What you said, you know, it struck a chord with me about the praise. Back in 1982, we were living in Mississippi at the time. My mother was disfellowshipped, and we were living 1,000 miles away from the family in Ohio. And we were in kind of a bad spot financially and stuff. We were at the beach, and I was playing on the beach, and Mom was sitting over by the car. And she said, "You know, I just had the strangest experience." She said, "I was praying, And then soon after that, these witnesses pulled up and wanted to know if I was okay. And I remember at the time, my dad was telling me, and I don't know if it was witness doctrine, but I'm thinking it was. But according to my dad, the Jehovah doesn't even hear the prayers of the disfellowship. So
Right.
that got me thinking what else was going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. Where are you living now? You left Mississippi?
Well, I live in Tennessee. I left Mississippi. We both did. Went back to Ohio. I finished my schooling in Ohio, moved to Kentucky for 3 years, moved to Florida for 1.5 years, and I've been in Tennessee for 26 years. Or 29.
Nice. 29. Nice. It is nice talking with you. Who is this again?
Junction guy. My real name's Dave, but I go by Junction.
Oh, okay. Which way would you like me to call you, Dave or Junction Guy?
Dave's fine.
Dave. Okay, Dave.
Well, Sharon, you really sound good, Sharon. You really, really do. We got time for one more caller. So
Okay.
who would like?
I don't mean to take any of RJ's time.
Oh, no, that's good. No, RJ still with us. RJ. In fact, let's bring Anne Marie back on if she's still here with us. Anne Marie.
I'm here too.
And then also we got a bunch of people in here, Dallas. Anne Marie, you still here with us? I'm not sure. All right. Well, anyways, let's go. One more comment we have. Who would like to make a comment? Who would like to speak up?
I love to speak because I'd love for Sharon to hear from me.
Well, go ahead, Dallas. Tell Sharon what's on your mind.
Well, I've been thinking about you, and you thought about every day.
Oh, Dallas, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just glad to hear from you and just miss having you on here more regularly.
Yeah, it was a hectic 7 months, let me tell you. It was a hectic 7 months.
And I'm glad that you've been blessed, but I'm sorry to hear about some of your experiences.
Thank you. You know, it helps your heart when you go through that to know that it still feels.
It does, and I got most of mine aren't in that organization. I even got some of them are even in the past were opposed even.
Yeah. You know, I think Watchtower was designed to do one thing: keep people away from the Father.
No wonder it deserves to be called a Watchtower.
You ain't kidding.
I even had one aunt. She didn't come in till the 21st century, but she did stay in the 70s. And her now ex, he was fiercely opposed, she said. And he came with her to hall, and she went to the bathroom. She said he ran down the aisle and caused the shouting disruption, and said, "My wife is not going to go here ever again."
Wow. And I sit right inside of him. Good for him.
And he knew what it was. I think he's still alive. I think he's still opposed, and one that I can turn to. And sometimes I know she was trying to do right too, and they each had this intentions were good on every side. But her only child, her daughter, she read the Bible stories, and she said he got furious over it.
Doesn't take much, Alice, to tick them off. Hey, listen, we got to get going for another show, but we want to thank Sharon, we want to thank Dallas, and we want to thank you.
Thank you, Dallas. It was good talking to you again. I missed you.
And you just, anywhere you can reach me at?
Can I send my number to Rick? Is that okay, Rick?
Of course, yeah. Send the number.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do that, and
okay, we'll do that then. All right.
And
that'll work for me.
And then Dallas,
okay.
And then, Dallas, what you want to do is write me at JW World News, and I'll send you back Sharon's telephone number. Okay, well,
Okay.
all right, go ahead and do that, Dallas. Well, what I want to say too is thank you, all the people that came on today, and RJ coming on and telling his story, and we had a good day here on the program. And Anne Marie, I'm not sure what happened, poor Anne Marie, but Anne Marie, if you're listening in, sometimes the telephone gives us some trouble, but thank you, Anne Marie, as well for helping with the program today. So we're going to end it here. But we got 2 more programs coming up. We've got a great program coming up next called The Christian Court. Now, don't go running to the mountains. This program is quite good. It's the only program that we have on our 6 Screens network that's crossing over into the Christian world. It's and many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are listening in as well. So it's really good. We have 2 Bible scholars. It will answer peculiar Christian questions. So let's go to that program. Thank you all for coming in. Stay with us. All right. So we're going to